Sometimes we see, like I said, 17, 19, 21-year-olds walking through our center, not dressed the way that you were raised to dress. Perhaps doesn't say salam to anybody. That's the biggest complaint that adults have, right? Salam nahi karte Maulana. They come in with their head down, they're all angry, they sit angry, they talk angry, they leave angry. Why are you angry, bro? You're 18 years old. Come in, say salam, how you meet, greet, this and that. No. So the entire generation is one Battamiz generation. Disrespectful. Meanwhile, he's coming in trying to find God here somewhere. He sees stares and whispers and murmurs and this and that and judging eyes. If that's the deen, no thank you. Yes, it's sometimes oversensitive. That's not my discussion tonight. It's my discussion in 2 days. But us on the outside, facing a youth on the fence of the deen, who's still trying to figure out the path, the last thing he needs is to be judged by us. Because spirituality is an inside-out process, not an outside-in process. You cannot start the judgment of spirituality on the outside. You can't. It's on the inside. These are all stories you've heard. From Bilal Sheen in the Adhan, to Salman Farsi being a non-Arab, to all these things. And when the Arabs would go crazy and say, Maulana, Rasulullah, he can't say Sheen, don't look on the outside. Because when Bilal says Seen, Allah hears Sheen. That's an inside-out process. What you see is an African-American slave on top of the Kaaba, can't pronounce Sheen. That's all apparent. But Allah sees the batin and the inner. He can see Seen and Sheen and Goff all he wants. His heart is pure. That's all that matters. The problem is that we don't have those eyes of basirat, of insight. We can't see the inner workings of an 18-year-old who might have a funky hairdo and maybe one size too small pants. Just one size. That's it. And he walks in, he's in the mosque on a Friday night of all nights. He's sitting here right now on a Sunday night in a beautiful, beautiful weather outside. He could be anywhere. He's sitting here, putting up with someone like me for an hour. Look at the hadith by Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. It's such a beautiful tradition. He says, and I paraphrase it, he says that spirituality is like a ladder. And we climb that ladder rung by rung by rung. And he says that there are individuals who climb from the first rung to the second rung. Alhamdulillah, tawfiq is there, inspiration is there. They accept it, they climb up the ladder. But he says some people, what they do is that they step on the ones on the first rung to get to the second rung. And then they look down with the eyes of judgment on the first rung. And Imam Sadiq says, instead of you judging those who are lower than you, extend a hand to them who are lower than you. Pull them up to your rung, reminding yourself just yesterday you were on the exact same rung. We have a little bit more mashallah in our vocabulary. Oh my God, everyone else is hellbound but me. My beard gets a little bit thicker. And like, look at this guy. Dude, that was you yesterday, bro. You just found your beard here today. You just found that tasbih buried in your drawer today. So now, mashallah, it's attached to your hand. And that's great. I'm not saying that. But if the deen, if that newfound spirituality has caused you to look down on others, then please do the deen a favor and recheck yourself. Because when you have proper spirituality, with spirituality comes what? A level of tolerance. And a level of understanding to know that everyone's capacity to understand the deen is different. Everyone's capacity, everyone's upbringing, everyone's household environment, everyone's intelligence, everyone's demons, their skeletons, their closets, everyone is different. And you don't know what will pull them towards the deen. But what we can't do is, on a social basis, is give them every reason to leave the deen. We can't do that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Qalam, ayat number 7, Surah Qalam, ayat number 7, for my EV guys to catch up to me. They say what? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna rabbaka, your Lord. Your Lord is who? Oh, beautiful. He's the one who a'lamu biman dhalla an sabilihi. He's the one that knows who is what? Misguided from his path. Wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. And he's also the one who knows who's guided. He knows who is misguided and who is guided. The Arabic in the verse is a'lamu, meaning he knows better. This addition of better means he knows better than who? He knows better than us. So meanwhile, while we might think that this outside apparent youth is off the path, off the path, off the path, he's very much inside what? The close quarters of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The approachability of the Ahlul Bayt is all over the books. I mean, the one story we have, of many, is Mus'ab ibn Amir, a very famous story. A young kid of 18, 19 years old. He was inside Mecca when the Prophet, of course, announced prophethood. The only child to very rich parents. Very quick and very famous story. All of you don't know the story. Very, very rich parents. Whatever Mus'ab wanted, Mus'ab had. No questions asked. He was a Shahzada of the house, mashallah. He was a prince. Mecca was not that big. Everybody knew everybody else. The Prophet of Allah knew every single family and every single person. Now, of course, this Islam is announced, and as you know, the Prophet of Allah used to what? Read the Quran out loud, and the enemies would what? Would gather around his window just to hear the beautiful recitation. It was mesmerizing. Mus'ab, they say, walked by the house of Rasulullah one day, and he was reciting this beautiful Quran. After a couple of days, Mus'ab was hooked. Went to the Prophet of Allah. He went to the Prophet of Allah and says that, can you teach me how to recite this book of yours? Now the Prophet of Allah knows who Mus'ab is. He knows what his worldview. He knows who his parents are. Complete idol worshippers. He's a young 18-year-old who's probably, draped in brand after brand after brand. Everything was Roman back then. Rome was, of course, everything back then. He'd get everything he wanted, from shoes to clothing to food, from Rome. If Mus'ab wanted, Mus'ab got it. The Prophet of Allah knew this person. He was known as a spoiled brat. But never once do we see anywhere in the books that the Prophet says to Mus'ab, Mus'ab, you're wasting my time. I have this deen to spread. I know you, I know your family very well. You don't have any inclination towards the deen. You can go from here. Nowhere do we have that. In fact, the Prophet took him in. Taught him the Quran, taught him the deen. You know who Mus'ab was? Mus'ab was that ambassador to Yathrib to talk to the Khazraj and Aus tribe, and he brought a sulah, a treaty between them. And when the tribes requested the Prophet to come to Medina and migrate from Mecca to Medina to establish the Islamic government, the Prophet of Allah says that I will not come to Medina until Mus'ab gives me the green lights. He sent Mus'ab there. He taught one tribe the deen. He taught another tribe the deen. He led the first Jama'ah prayer in Yathrib before the migration. And then he wrote a letter to the Prophet of Allah. They're good to go, Rasulullah, come to Medina. The Prophet made that migration from Mecca to Medina that our calendar is based on the letter of an 18-year-old. Whose childhood was a spoiled brat to rich parents. Approachability. Zero judgment. He saw an ounce of potential, and he grabbed it. So we cannot be individuals who might add to the problem. And I talk to myself as a person who sits on this member. And I talk to my elders who are the ambassador of Islam inside of your community. You see a new face who's 18, who might have a few holes in his face. Welcome him in. You might see a person who might have beads in his hair. Welcome him in. Take him in. Because you don't know the state of his internal movement. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.